All right. Good morning, everyone. Okay, so let's take a look here. Now, it's been a little while since we have done one of these Facebook Live segments. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, you know, or maybe we haven't done these in a few weeks, let me just fill you in a little bit. So, my name is Julio Briones, and I am the CEO and senior home care business strategist for Briones Consulting Group. All right, and the we're doing these every pretty regularly every Saturday morning at 9:30. Sometimes I'm a few minutes late, sometimes a few minutes early, but right around 9:30 in the morning every Saturday. That's 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we had taken a pause for a couple of weeks because we recently relocated the business to Indiana from New Jersey. So, thanks to everyone who has patiently waited for us. And for those of you who are new, you know, um, this is a live recording. Okay. So if you're watching us on Facebook in the group, and it is Saturday morning at 9:30. Thanks for joining us, and you're watching us live. If you are watching this after that time, you're watching a replay. This does get shared on our YouTube channel, and it gets shared on various other platforms and groups and everything else as a YouTube video afterwards. So if you are watching this on YouTube, show some support, give us some love, give us a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. So, again, for the format for these Saturday morning sessions is really simple. Anyone who's watching us live, you can submit a question and we'll answer them as they pop up. If we don't get a lot of people showing up, because I mean, we haven't done these in a while, so I'm not expecting a whole lot. But if we don't, we have people submit questions. You can put it into the comment section on the post. You can put it into the comment section on the YouTube channel, right onto the video. And we monitor this all the time and we happily answer all of your questions. If your question is good enough, you'll get highlighted as you guys are going to see here, and and again, if it's a question that enough people are asking, you might even do an impromptu session some other time during the week. But that's how this goes. And we're just moving along, getting established. And if you are in the Indianapolis specifically area, stop by, give us a shout, say hello. Our office information is on our website. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. If yeah, whoever is joining us live, give us a hi, say it was comment below, say good morning. We always like to get some feedback, right? And we're going to go ahead and get started with the first question. All right, so someone submitted a question to us over our break. You know, should I charge caregivers for scrubs? Well, this is actually a question I get asked a lot, especially with newer agencies, because the thing is, everybody wants their caregivers to be professional. And, I think that is fantastic. And, you should. If you want to be a run of the mill average competitor agency, knock yourself out, let your caregivers dress however they want. It doesn't affect what you're going to charge. This, if you're a Medicaid agency, Medicaid is still going to pay you. If you are a private pay agency and you're just in the middle of the pack, maybe a little bit on the lower end of the billing rate, it's not really going to affect you. But I do say, if you want to stand out and you want to be that agency that people are comfortable calling, that facilities are okay with your caregivers coming into the facility, you want to make sure that you have scrubs. Even if you're not going to go the extra mile, which I do believe that once you can afford it, you can budget for it, have your logo embroidered onto the scrub tops. You know, um, if you don't want to do scrub tops, you can do a polo top. It really depends on the environment that they're in. And my recommendation is, it's one top for every two shifts. So if you got a caregiver working for you 5 days a week, you should give them two scrub tops. Now, to the crux of the question, should you charge your caregivers for it? That really depends. Okay. If you have a, you know, and this is where it gets a little bit complicated because we have a high turnaround in the industry. So most home care agencies do not have solid retention planning in place. All right, they have some little things that they do to try to keep a caregiver on. They'll beg, cajole, bribe, give that sign-on bonus. They'll do a number of little things to get them in the door. But most agencies fail to understand that um your retention planning actually starts before the interview. All right. When my caregiver submits an application to me, at that point, I need to have methods in place that are designed that through the interview process, scheduling the interview, getting them into the office that first time, after the interview, all the way up to those first few cases, I am trying to do everything I can to foster and to show my company values and show my company culture. All right. And I want to make sure that that caregiver understands very clearly that what we are in line with. Okay, because once they know what we're aligned with, they're going to make that decision faster. Um, Depending on the circumstance, you may want to start with something like a printed T-shirt instead of a scrub top. Okay, and that you can give them because if you lose it, you lost it. Okay, because here's the thing: can you charge for them? Yes. Should you charge for them? That depends on what your circumstances are. Budgeting, how long you've been in business. There's a lot of factors involved there. But can you charge for them after they quit? That's where it gets a little complicated, and that really depends. Because here's a scenario. Let's say, just for argument's sake, you are doing a scrub top that is costing you $25. Okay. Again, just for argument's sake. You give it to the caregiver, you make them sign a paper that says, "Hey, we'll give you the uniforms, but on your first paycheck, we're going to deduct $25." You're not making any profit on it. You're charging them exactly what it's costing you. The caregiver works 2 hours at a rate of $12 an hour. That means you are paying them $24. Okay, and they quit after 2 hours. They just walk out on you. They quit. Can you deduct $25 from their $24 paycheck? The short answer is no. In most states, again, please contact your labor consultant, somebody in HR, the state labor department, somebody who's actually licensed and trained in or trained specifically for your state. I am talking in very general, and I am in a very general manner, and this is not in any way, I'm not telling you who to hire, who not to hire, how to hire them, or any other legal advice. But generally speaking, that being said, okay, generally speaking, if you are back charging somebody and it creates a situation where their pay is less than the state mandated minimum wage, okay, you are in violation of some sort of labor law. Again, in a very general sense. All right. And this could be a big problem. So, anybody who's watching currently, give us a thumbs up if you are familiar with the company 7-Eleven. And let us know if you've ever heard in the comments, if you're watching the replay on YouTube, if you're watching us live, give us a thumbs up. Are you familiar with the company 7-Eleven? All right. So, a number of years ago, I want to say it was like 7, 8 years ago. My timing might be off. They got themselves into a little bit of trouble. They made national attention because 7-Eleven is a franchise, and some of the franchisees, I don't know all of the exact circumstances, but the in the short version or the condensed version of this, to the best of my recollection, is that one of their franchisees was also renting living space to their employees. And because they were commingling both of these businesses, what ended up happening is the employees were being paid less than minimum wage, even though all it was, it's no different than if they were to rent an apartment from somewhere else. I mean, again, there's a lot more complexity to it, and I'm not getting into all the details on that. I'm not for or against, or nor do I work for 7-Eleven. But the point is that that simple situation caused a big problem for that franchisee, and it caused a little bit of bad press for 7-Eleven as a whole, and they were able to recover from it. So that type of a situation is something you want to avoid as a home care owner, especially if you're newer, right? You really want to avoid that. So should you charge for caregivers for scrubs? Yeah, go ahead. I know a lot of agencies that do it. Just keep in mind that you want to make sure that you either do some sort of a trial period, like meaning instead of a fancy, nice looking scrub set, maybe you want to give them just a T-shirt for the probationary period until they've accumulated enough hours that you know p- taking out the deduction for the scrubs won't cause a problem for you. Or maybe you want to have them pay for it up front. It's like, hey, listen, you pay for it up front, it's a deposit. After a certain amount of days, you get the money back. Or if you do leave, as long as you bring the scrubs back, you get the money back. Something like that, something that makes it equitable, something that makes it less problematic for you. And if you are, whether you're going to charge directly, pre charge, or take some sort of a deposit, make sure that you have a policy on uniforms clearly available for them, and that you include it in their employee handbook when they sign for it. If you are an existing business and you're going to implement this, make sure that you are diligent about getting every single current active employee the new policy, and have them sign saying something saying they received it. Save yourself a headache. It's always better to be over prepared than under prepared. All right, so let's move on here. That brings us to our second question, which is actually related to the first. All right, and one somebody submitted to us, how can I get caregivers to actually show up to these interviews? All right, so leave us a comment below and let us know what is your no-show rate looking like. All right, so the no-show rate means this. If I schedule 10 interviews based on applicants, through whatever source you're getting them, what how many of those are actually showing up to the interview? Yeah, I think what is it? The younger kids today, now I sound like my grandfather, they call it ghosting you. So how many are just not showing up? Okay. So if out of 10, 5 of them are showing up, you're doing great. The average right now, it's about 70% no-show rate. So that means 3 out of every 10 people are showing up. Not necessarily going to work, just showing up to the interview, okay? Whether they're a good candidate or not, that's another thing. Some agencies, I've seen them report as low when we do our assessments for recruitment and retention to see how we can improve systems. I've had a couple of agencies tell me that they're having 1 out of 20 interviews actually show up. That's a 5% um 5% completion rate or turnover rate. That is terrible. Okay. And I'm sorry if you fall in that category where you're having something like that. That is truly terrible. Pre-COVID, the rate was about 60%. 6 out of 10 interviews actually showed up. And during COVID, that number went down dramatically, obviously, and now it's starting to come back up, but you're still looking at about 30%, which is abysmal. Your goal should be somewhere between 40 and 50%. If you're scheduling 10 interviews, at least 4 people should show up every time you schedule. If not, then you got to take a look at your systems. Okay, there's something broken in the link in your methods. All right, so some of the more basic tips that I give people is that it really starts with the interview process. I'm sorry, with the advertising process. Look, are you getting lost in Indeed? Are you just pretty much falling through the cracks when it comes to Facebook? What is it that you're doing? How are you creating your ads? Look, don't get lost in the shuffle. If we go to Indeed right now and I pull up caregiver jobs in any part of the country, I guarantee you some of them are going to use the exact same language because this is what agency owners are doing. They're going to Indeed and they're typing in caregiver or CNA or HHA or depending on where you are, CHHA or personal care assistant, something along those lines. And they are literally copying the text off of somebody else's ad and pasting it. That is terrible to do. You know, change it a little bit. Make it yours. Make the title yours, okay? If my ad looks the same as everybody else's, then no one's going to show up, okay? Here's the reality, the harsh truth. If you guys want to admit it or not, I know some of you that follow our channel and some of you that are in our Facebook group, I'm going to say probably about 20-30% were caregivers at one point. About 70% of you have worked in this industry in some capacity for a number of years. You guys have spoken to caregivers. You have been caregivers. You have been a personal caregiver, and we've all had some sort of a job. Nobody just came out of the womb owning a home care agency. At some point, you had to work. How do you people look for jobs? Okay. In today's world, they pick up their phone. Okay. They sit on the toilet. They go on Indeed and they just start clicking. Apply now, apply now, apply now. They'll skip a lot of times the applications where they have to actually fill stuff in. Okay. A lot of people do this. And I've spoken to hundreds of caregivers. And I've done, as part of assessments for my clients, we've gone through and we've spoken, we've followed up and called some of these caregivers and said, "Hey, listen, just out of curiosity, this is our own process. Why aren't you showing up?" "Oh yeah, I wasn't really looking for a job. I was just bored. My client fell asleep at the agent with the agency, or I was in the bathroom and I just started clicking through to see what's out there." That's the reason why they're not showing up. You're blending in. There's nothing in there that says, yeah, serious inquiries only. All right. I'm not saying use that language specifically, but make it clear that you want somebody who's actually going to show up. The next part of this, it's how you're saying it, where you're advertising. Now let's go on from there. Are you being lazy? All right, and I hate to be this blunt. Actually, I don't. I'm usually pretty blunt, but I hate to put it this way. And if it bothers anybody, I'm gonna apologize. But are you being lazy? Take a harsh look at yourself. You, as the agency owner, are you keeping track of what your staff is doing? If you have someone else delegated to creating these ads and putting them on social media or putting them on these recruitment sites for you, okay, are you being lazy? Are you following up? Are you looking at the ad? Are you pretending to are you doing your due diligence and pretending to be a caregiver to see what the process looks like for them? So if you are, which again, many agency owners are, not everyone, but many are. The more successful ones aren't. Okay. The ones that aren't watching this video right now hoping for some tips because they're desperate. They aren't. Are you following up? Okay. What and leave us in the comment below. What does your process look like? Once somebody puts this ad up, if it's you, are you putting a link specifically that's going to lead them back to a full application? No, use the KISS method. Keep it simple and stupid. Okay. If I click on your ad on Indeed, it needs to take me to fill out the application. There's nothing. I mean, for me personally, when I used to be in the workforce, actively looking for jobs, nothing would aggravate me more than sending in my resume on Indeed and then having the employer contact me and say, "Hey, yeah, we really like your resume. Go fill out this application." My response to them 100% of the time, and this is why I work for myself. It was very simple. Why do you need me to redundantly fill out an application if you just asked for my resume? I worked hard on getting you my resume. You want references? I'll give them to you. You want a more expanded resume? I have one. But don't make me give you my resume, go through all that work, and then make me fill out a second application. And or worse, because I've seen agencies even do this, submit the application, do a short application afterwards, and then come into the office and have the caregiver spend the next 2 hours filling out paperwork again to fill out the same information. Keep it simple, streamline. One of the great things about COVID, as awful as the whole experience was for everyone around the world, one of the great things was that many agencies learned how to implement technology. You have DocuSign. DocuSign's too expensive. Use PandaDoc. PandaDoc's too much. Use Sign Now. Use Nitro Pro. There's 100 of these signature grabbing softwares that you can automate your process. Have them fill it out. It becomes a fillable PDF. You can use Hierology. You can use, some of these scheduling softwares like SwiftOp. I don't know if SwiftOp does it, but you have SwiftOps, ClearCare, Ascend. They have a bunch of these. CareSmarts 360, CareSmarts. There's many, many, many scheduling software out there. Many of them now have integrated application processes into the software. Not only do you send out the full application, they fill it out, but it captures it as a lead. It puts them into your recruitment funnel automatically. So again, are you being lazy? Are you being cheap? Which is it? Because something is wrong in your process if the caregivers aren't showing up. Once this is done, go and it's not very expensive. It's a couple of $100 at worst. At best, it's $8 a month. Okay. Go to Calendly or go to Acuity Scheduling, go to HubSpot. There's a thousand ways to do these things, but create a scheduling link where somebody can pick the time. You set the schedule as to your availability for interviews. Plan accordingly. Let them schedule the process. Let them come in. One that way that gives them the flexibility. Remember, you're advertising a flexible work environment. It gives them the flexibility to reschedule themselves. Okay? Go ahead and do all of that. Figure out which works best for you. There's a bunch of solutions. All right. And now, again, here comes the hard work part. Once it's all said and done, they've scheduled their appointment. Who's following up? Don't give me this nonsense that, oh, I follow up with a text message, I follow up with an email. That's what you have automation for. What human being is taking 2 minutes out of their day in your office to follow up, to actually communicate with these caregivers? Think about this. We live in an impersonal world where everything has moved to the computer, okay? We have been spent 2 years almost where everybody was locked down. Leave a comment below. Let us know. Weren't you tired of not having any human contact? We crave it as people, and so do the caregivers. Okay? Show them that you're a human being. Show them, that there is a person and that they are going to be part of a team and not just another agency that's going to use them to death, make, because remember the mentality is, oh, they're getting rich off of me. All right. And if there's no person there, no support, there's no reason for them to stay. No reason for them to stay. Hell, you're not even giving them reason to show up in the first place. Okay. So now they come in for the interview, you make it easy for them, you have the interview, follow up. Okay. And this is how you're getting them to show up. You're having communication, frequent communication, clear messaging. You're standing out. You're trying to figure out how to get all of these pieces in place, and you're creating human contact. Look, this is one of the things you'll if you've been following us on social media on any platform for any given amount of time. I have said this nonstop since the inception of my company in 2015. Okay, people build relationships, and those relationships are what's going to build your business. And it doesn't matter if you don't have relationships with your clients, if you don't have relationships with your caregivers, and you don't have relationships with your staff or your referral partners, you're sunk. There's only going to take you so far. Spending money on Indeed is only going to get you so many applicants, and it's not going to guarantee you they show up. You could spend a fortune on these lead generation services. It doesn't guarantee you that a client's going to come to you. And unless you're taking good care of people and you're building relationships and showing value, you're not going to be able to create predictable income, which is the key to any business. Okay, think about this. Focus on that, and it applies to all aspects of your business. All right. So our third and final question for this morning, before we start taking live questions, all right, is right here. Just starting out without a lot of money. How should I start marketing? All right. I got to tell you, hands down, this, excuse me, I'm just plugging in my laptop here before we get cut off due to no battery. But hands down, this question has to be the most asked question that I get. All right. And people want to get creative and people want to hear all sorts of stuff. And everybody, unfortunately, wants the easy button. Okay. Let me tell you guys something. There is no easy button. I don't care if you are a brand new agency just starting out, if you got licensed 2, 3 years ago and you haven't done anything with it, or if you are like some of my clients that I'm currently working with, they're doing anywhere from $1 to $4 million a year. They all have the same problem. Okay. Marketing, marketing, marketing. Look, the fact is you got to do it. That's all. You're either going to, come in and you're going to have everything properly set up because you're well funded and you're going to get out there and do it, or you're going to pay somebody to do it. Okay. But at the very least, it needs to be done. Are you nervous? Probably. Most home care agency owners aren't good marketers. And please don't lie to yourself. You're probably not a good marketer. All right. Marketing is a skill. It's not a talent. It's not something people are born doing. It's a skill. You have to have the right personality and you have to have the right outlook in life, but you have to do it. Look, if you have $0 to your name, go and borrow $100. Go to Vistaprint, get some business cards made up, and order about 50 pens. Okay, with your logo and stuff on it. Start there. Go to facilities. Don't do it stupidly. Okay, this is one of the big things that people where people make the mistake. And look, if you go to our YouTube channel, okay, here's the link. Okay, so if you go to our YouTube channel, if you're already watching us on YouTube, I'll post a link to it. But one of the key things, and this is probably the number one mistake people make. Look, you know where your clients live. You know your area. And if you don't, hey, give me a call. We do territory viability analysis, optimization analysis, you know, but you got to know where your client lives. If you don't, what are you doing? How are you going to market to a group of people if you don't know where they are? If you want Medicaid clients, why are you going into the houses, the multi-million dollar homes? If you're going, if you're let's put it this way. Uh if you're going to go and sell solar panels, would you do it in a place that gets no sun? It's the same concept. It the home care, you need to find the right neighborhoods. Who are you looking for? What, you're looking for sicker people, you're looking for healthier people, are you looking for 20-year-olds? Look, decide, figure it out. Figure out who your audience is, figure out where they live, and then go to the places that service those people. It's not overly complex. Most people, depending on whether you live in farmland, you live in the suburbs, or you live in a city, you're going to live somewhere between 2 and 12 miles of a hospital. That's it. So if I know the neighborhoods, if I have an idea, like even if I'm wrong and I'm just guessing, but the neighborhoods where I think these people live, I'm gonna go to the hospital, and then I'm gonna go from the hospital. You're gonna strike out at the hospital, by the way, but you have to know where it is. Be aware of where it is. Just drive around. There's people around there that service the hospital. You're gonna see home health agencies. You're gonna see hospice agencies. You're gonna see independent living facilities. You're gonna see assisted living facilities. You're gonna see doctors. You're gonna see attorneys, wealth planners, accountants, all of these people that are near where the hospital is, because guess what? Those people are going after the same clients you are. And the hospital is just a good benchmark, you know? So figure it out. Okay? Figure it out, get out there, go meet people. If you're struggling, just do it. Look, what do you need? One client, two clients to get started? Get that confidence built up. Figure out your magic number. How much money does your business need to stay in business? Not talking about paying yourself. What do you need to stay in business? Then take it a step further. What do you need to hire a part timer? What do you need to hire a full timer? How much money do you need in order to hire a marketer? If you're not comfortable doing it, you got to do it. Look, business takes time or it takes money. If you're not willing to spend one or the other, you're spinning your wheels. Okay. So get out there and market or hire someone to do it. If you're going to do the marketing, you got to hire somebody to run the internals of your office. If you're going to do the internals of the office, you got to hire a marketer. Eventually, something's got to give. You cannot do it yourself unless you have figured out how to clone people legally and you can split yourself into two people. You got to do something. But it all starts with understanding, a basic understanding of who is your client. Okay. Now, I'm going to go a step further with that. If you are Medicaid, not every poor person over 65 is your client. Okay. Some people some cases are easier to staff than others. Figure out where your caregivers live and you'll have an easier time finding Medicaid clients. Figure out where your figure out where your clients are, all right? And you're going to figure out where how far your caregivers are willing to travel. Are your caregivers willing to go into the hood? Look, let's call it what it is. I started in this industry, working Medicaid. Talking about almost 30 years ago at this point. I was a kid. I had no fear. I didn't care because I was a kid. But I quickly found out there are places in the hood your caregivers will not go. That's it. You know, they're just not gonna go. And what are you gonna do? How are you gonna service clients? Okay. So, and the same thing works the other way. If you are a private pay agency, if that's who you're focusing on, define private pay. All right. Let's call it what it define private pay. What does as a matter of fact, look, those of you watching live, leave it in the comment. If you're on the if you're watching the replay on YouTube again, leave it in the comment. How do you define private pay? All right. Does private pay to you mean just somebody who has long-term care insurance? Does private pay to you mean veterans benefits? Okay, because for some people that's what it means. Does private pay to you mean that client that really wants 12 to 20 hours a week? Does private pay mean 40 to 60 hours a week? Self pay, no insurance. That's all right, LaShawn. Thank you. All right. So, yeah, self pay, no insurance. That's a great place to start. Okay. But now let's define it further. Who's your client? Okay. So, what do I mean by that? All right. Let me explain what I mean before anything, because that's probably a more confusing question than anything else. So there are different tiers of people. Okay, when we're talking about private pay clients, you have just like you have different types of businesses, and I've talked about this in other videos and other trainings. If you haven't seen, again, if you're in the Facebook group, take a look in the group. look for the links to the YouTube channel, all right? There's videos on this, but there's three basic types of business owners, which also means they have three basic types of clients. Okay, you have your bargain shopper. Okay, personally, that's a race to the bottom. I don't like that as a business model and as a pricing strategy, okay? But there are people who really like, I mean, they got more money than God and hate to spend a penny of it. And they will go, and if they find somebody that'll do it for a nickel less than you, they will do it. Okay? That is one type of client. If that's who you want, hey, by all means, I'm not knocking you. Knock yourself out. Go after them. All right. And all you got to do is be the lowest person priced in the market as long as you could stay in business. Cool. The second type of client is your competitive client. That is your value shopper. Okay. These are the people that will actually take a look and say, okay, well, these 10 agencies do the same, but this one charges a dollar more. This one charges a dollar less. This one's right in the middle. Who do I really want to go with? And then they'll start asking questions to see which is going to give them their money's worth in their mind. Okay. And that's cool. That's most of your businesses. I'm going to say that's probably 80% of your private pay agencies out there operate like that. They all do the same thing. They all have the same caregiver. Hell, if I call 10 caregiver agencies in your area, the odds are I'm going to get the same caregiver like 3 or 4 times. Okay. And it's just what it is. Okay. There's again nothing wrong with that, but if that's who you're looking for, then there's different ways you're looking for these people. And then you have the people that they don't care. Money's no object. I want the best. I love my mother more than I love myself, and I don't care if I got to work 3 jobs to get them. They usually don't work 3 jobs. They usually have different funds and assets. But we're talking about the premium client, that premium caregiver. Okay, look, it's one of the things that when I work with people one to one on pricing strategy and on marketing and all of this stuff, the reality is this, okay? Decide what you want to do. Do you want to offer competitive pricing and premium pricing? Cool. Look, I've got clients that in their market 26 to $28 is normal price for caregiver agency, and they have packages where they're charging 50, $60 an hour. Okay. it it depends on what you want to do. Who are you going after? Do you want to offer that higher amount? And it all comes down to, and again, making that conscious decision of whether or not you really want to grow and expand, number one. And number two, do you really want to fight with people? Let me tell you, okay, if I sell a service, if I'm a mechanic and I do oil changes, let's say for 10-minute oil change for $50, and everyone around me does 10-minute oil changes between $48 and $52. That means that's the bulk of the market share. It also means that it is the bulk of the customers. So how many people do I have to compete with to get the same number of clients? If I live in an area with 100,000 people and there's 25,000 cars in that area and there's 5,000, you know, um, 5,000 competing quick lubes, great. That means I have a 1 in 5 chance of getting any client. But now, let's say I'm a premium service. I do a 30-minute oil change. It takes a little bit longer, but I also will change your transmission fluid, check your brakes, clean your windshield, do all this extra stuff. Hell, I'll make you breakfast in bed while you're waiting for me to do all of this to your car, but I'm going to charge you $200 for it. Now you have a lot less people willing to pay $200 than they were willing to pay $50. And that means I'm probably going to only have 1 or 2 competitors, if any, in the area. But those people that want that extra service, they want that high touch, they want that premium, they have less to pick from. So it increases my likelihood of getting these clients. All right. So I hope that makes sense. I'm not saying move into that premium range right from the door. I mean, you can if you're well funded enough. What I am getting at is that you want to take your existing client base and have a competitive package, something where you can sustain your business and keep the doors open. Okay. But you want to also understand that some of your services you can sell for a little bit higher. You can package. So, does that mean that right from the door you're going to do this? No. What this means is that you have to understand who you're going after, what you're offering them, what where your caregivers are willing to go. Take this information and then find where those people live. Work backwards. What hospital services those areas? What facilities or secondary and tertiary services service the hospital? And then go market to them. If XYZ hospital, um, their primary hospice, or let's say their primary home health agency is VNA, the Visiting Nurse Association. Great, great. Let's go and target that VNA. So are we able to get those people or no? This is a different thing. Now the technique comes into play here, but let me tell you, I have seen some terrible, terrible, terrible salespeople open up agencies. Like they're great nurses, they're great caregivers, they're great operations people, but they are awful marketers. But you know what they weren't? They weren't scared. Okay, they were persistent, they weren't scared, they weren't lazy. And I hate to put it this bluntly, but most of the people that I've worked with over the years, and personally I have helped open well over 100 agencies from scratch, and I've worked with probably about 2 to 300 agencies that are well established. And there's a few things that are hold on a second. Just checking if anyone knows about Medicaid billing personal. No, this is not my this group. I'm sorry, focuses George on private pay for the most part, and we're just generally talking about how to get started with sales. All right. So sorry, we can't be of more help. You can post a question into the group and see if somebody else will be able to answer that for you. So the point is that once you understand who your people are, where your target is, and again, some of the best home care agency owners, they weren't lazy, they weren't scared. The whole thing is if you're afraid, you're not going to get out there in the first place. You have to get over it, okay? And the other thing is if you aren't afraid but you're lazy, you're going to have problems also. All right, so what this means is it does nothing for me to sit in my office. I could be the best salesperson in the world. I could have the best product in the world. If I don't get out there and people don't know I exist, I'm never going to sell a thing. If you're not sure if you are, if you're ready to go out there and sell your service, do it anyway. Okay. Oh, you don't have enough caregivers to service a client? You don't need that many. As long as you're confident you can find two caregivers, three at the most, you can get started. Because here's the thing. Let's give you a best and worst case scenario all at the same time. You open your doors, you go and visit a facility. That facility says, "You know what? I like you. You seem like a genuine person to me, and I'm going to take a shot and I'm going to give you a 168-hour a week client. That means 24 hours a day, 7 days a week." Yeah. Um Yeah, LaShawn, I love being in the field too. It's one of the best feelings in the world, and you know, so I feel you there. But the 24 hours a day, 7 day a week client, that's a best case scenario, right? That's like 16, 17,000 a month, depending on your bill rate. But here's the thing: it also needs about six caregivers minimum to run it efficiently. So do you take the case right out of the gate or not? Are you confident enough to do it? Well, here's the thing with that. Okay, you might not have enough, but can you find one caregiver? Can you cover that first shift? I wouldn't say no. All right. Can you yourself, if you have to, cover one of those shifts? Sure. Well, you only need two to three caregivers to get that case started. Do you not know other home care agency owners? Can you not call and subcontract? Tell them, hey, listen, I'll pay you $22 an hour for a $23 an hour case. Who cares if I'm making $1 an hour for 8 hours? You know what though? I'm billing the client. I am, not you, not nothing like that. Your caregivers will not take my client. And this is how it is. You just have to be smart about it. And this is all comes down to strategy and everything else. All right, so I know I over explained the question and everything else. So I'm going to open it up. I have about 9 minutes before I got to go. Does anyone have any questions on any of this? Just go ahead, leave it for us in the comments. If you're watching this live, if you're watching it, I may not be able to answer because it won't be live anymore. If you're watching the replay, all right. Yeah, where is? Yeah, it's actually something that most people are afraid to do because they're so afraid of losing clients. But I'd rather lose one shift on a 24-hour case, you know, then I'd rather lose that one shift on a 24-hour case than lose the whole case. Because even if you're looking at, you know, a $16,000 a month client, I'd rather walk away with 12,000 of it than zero. That's just basically how it works. Subcontracting, I'm assuming you're asking about what I was just talking about. How do you subcontract an agency? Find an agency with other caregivers. You sign the agreement with them. Okay, that's really what it comes down to. They become you become their client and not your client. So basically, you tell them, I need a caregiver agency to cover from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Just for argument's sake. I need that covered on Saturday and Sunday only. Just again, I can't find people for that time. Great. You contract them, they're coming through from your agency, you set it up in a way, you write a non-compete, you make it so that they cannot just go and solicit your client. They can bring the caregivers there, they could bring their own nurse if they really wanted to. It's cool, you both nurse can both go together at the same time, but they cannot actively solicit your client while they're working with you. Now if you can't cover more than one shift and you want to hand over and transition the client to them, that becomes your choice. But my suggestion is, if you're going to do an arrangement like that, you do it for a short amount of time. You say, hey, listen, I just need caregivers for the next 2 weeks. I don't care about giving you the profit for the hours they work, but it's only for 2 weeks. And then you bust your behind trying to find the caregivers. All right. And that's generally how it goes. You want to create an agreement with them. I think um, your basic service agreement for private pay will work most of the time. At least it has in my experience. And honestly, this is one of those things where you're only going to get burned once. If my agency burned your agency, and you come back to me a second time, there's an old expression, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And that's really what it boils down to. You know, yeah, in the military, there's another expression. Once it's an accident, twice it's coincidence, third time it's enemy action. That's another thing to keep in mind. So, if you continually get burned, that's up to you. But it's really simple. Good contracts, a solid service agreement will help you get through. And a good relationship, it will help you get through even more. This is why you cannot look at your competing agencies in your area as your enemy. They are not your enemy. Look, LaShawn, for example, you could have 150 agencies in your area in walking distance, and it doesn't matter. There's one thing that not a single one of those agencies have in the area, and that's you. And that's really what it boils down to. No matter what, look, there are, hell, since COVID, there are about 200 people that claim to do something similar. Many of them are scammers, many of them are solid business people. But you know what? Not a single one of my competitors have me. And it's the same thing works vice versa. I do not have a single one of my competitors working for me. So it's not everybody's for everybody, okay? So I'm not the right fit for some people that come ask me. Believe me, I turn down probably about 10 to 12 clients every month. It just doesn't we're not a good fit. My personality doesn't mesh with everybody. But be exactly, Sarah. You have to Collaboration is always going to be the best way to do it. But you have to understand who it is. Is the person solid? Is the person a scammer? My big thing is, like I said a moment ago, you're only going to fool me one time. If you fool me a second time, that's my fault, not yours. So the same thing works in home care. I don't care if I am a visiting angels and I go to home helpers down the street, as long as we're solid, respectable business people that are what we're about, great, great. Then we're not going to have a problem. It's going to be an understandable working relationship. Today I might have more caregivers, tomorrow you might have more caregivers. Today I might get a client that's not a good fit for me, but it's a great fit for you, and now I've become your referral source. And that's actually one of the especially if you've got a franchise near you and you're an independent owner, that's actually a great thing to do, because sometimes, like, let's say home helpers. I'm just using them randomly, no, nothing in particular. You know, um, the fact is, let's say they have an office locally and there's not one in the territory that you're trying to service. Hey, great. They may not have a home helpers near you, and they might just give you the client. And yeah, LaShawn, yeah, use another agency, call ourselves sister agents. That's a great approach. Nobody loses out when there's good collaboration. Okay, yeah, let me go back to Sarah's point there. Yeah, when you have good and solid collaboration, nobody loses. Okay. All right. So 3 more minutes. Final question, comments, concerns, anything like that. All right. So while we're waiting to see if anybody posts anything, just a quick reminder, please feel free, visit us at thebrionesgroup.com. If you need any assessments, trainings, we're going to be announcing this week a live in-person training class in Indianapolis. All right. Well, in the Indianapolis area, I'm going to only be opening up about 20 seats to this class, and it's going to be first come, first serve. There's going to be a whole bunch of bonus stuff, and it's going to be pretty good money for the value. Keep an eye out for that. Okay. Other than that, you guys have a wonderful day, and join us again next Saturday morning. We're going to be doing this again regularly. And even if I am not able to do it live, there will be a session recorded and posted into the every Saturday morning at 9:30. We were doing it for a while because we were relocating from New Jersey to Indiana. We kind of put it off for a while, but we're back. We're answering your questions. Please, if you're in the group, submit. Yeah, thank you, Sarah. If you're in the group, please post questions. I do will answer them. If you can't make it to the live session, if you can join us on the live session, hey, that'll be fantastic. We'd love to have you, and we'll see you again next Saturday. Oh, here we go. How do you price? Oh, where are we? Where are we? Some caregivers want more to service them. Oh, okay, yeah. So how do you price for COVID patients? All right. Um, Typically, it's a hazard pay, and what I have seen industry wide is people are charging anywhere from 25 to 50% above their rate. But you have to be transparent about it. And if you are going to charge more, you got to make sure. Typically, you want to do 20% above what the caregiver is asking. So, like, let's say you're paying, just for simplicity's sake, you're paying your caregivers $10 an hour. They want 15. All right, you want to increase your price by about $7 so that you can cover the payroll expenses at a minimum. Okay, that's typically how it goes. There's a lot more to that, because there's market impact, and there's a lot of other things when it comes to your state taxes, everything else. So as long as you know what your employer burden is, it's typically nationally anywhere from 18 to 22% of your payroll. So as long as you charge above that, you're fine. If you want to make profit on top of that, so instead of charging, let's say, 20% above, you might want to do 25 or 30% above. So this way you can make an extra dollar or so an hour in profit. All right. So hope that answers everybody's question. That is it for us. It is now 10:30 Eastern time, and it's time for us to go. You guys have a great rest of your weekend and enjoy your Labor Day holiday if you are not working. Let's catch you all guys next time.